Alright guys, I'm going to go over the primary cartoons and documents for this week. Alright, looking at the first cartoon. Okay, so again, going through, making a list of important symbols, kind of what they stand out for and mean. So you should have kind of three main characters here. Okay, so we have Churchill representing Great Britain, Uncle Sam representing the United States, and then we have Stalin, and you can tell by his armband, he's representing the Soviet Union. You see that he already kind of has a grasp of Europe in his hands, and he continues to reach for China and India. Okay, so again, thinking about this, we looked at this actually at the end of World War II. So again, lots of different things can be used for this. So what historical issue could you use for this? Again, think vocabulary term. And then, depending on what historical issue, is it for or against it, why? And then message. Just tell me what's going on in the cartoon. Okay, and again, I think I talked about this last week when we looked at the documents. This should be coming out of, all the information should be coming kind of directly out of the cartoons and the documents. Don't try to stretch and reach from things that are in your notes. Try to keep it as simple as possible. Alright, moving on to cartoon number 2. This one's a little bit more detailed, so I'm going to zoom in for you guys so you can see it a little bit better. Alright, so the list of all the things. Again, don't get lazy and just put one or two things. I really need to see that you're kind of breaking down and listing all the things that you see in the cartoon. So it says, no admittance by the order of Joe. So think, who are they talking about with Joe? Okay, on one side, so this is representing a curtain, hint, hint, hint. This is going to be Churchill on one side of Europe. You see kind of thus industrialism on the other side, and then you see that communist flag on the other side. Okay, so what historical issue? Particularly, this one should be super easy. What is being portrayed by this right here? Okay, is it for this or against this? And again, use details from the cartoon to back it up. And then what's the message? Simply what is going on in the cartoon. Okay, and if you look here, trying to peep under, running in the opposite direction. Cartoon number 3 we looked at in the video. So again, you see kind of the troops or the soldiers on either side being backed up by all the different types of nuclear weapons, the Y rocket, the H bomb, the Z bomb. And on each side it says, oh, on no account to be used because the enemy might retaliate. Okay, so again, a couple different terms that work for this. Okay, and even though they have all this different technology and all the different weapons, they're shooting arrows back and forth at each other. Okay, so again, what does that represent? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Okay, use details from the cartoon to support. And again, guys, honestly, that could go either way. Just make sure you're explaining why. And then the message, I pretty much gave it to you. Just turn it into a sentence. What is going on in the cartoon? All right, on the document side, okay, we have 4 documents, okay? When we are going through these, guys, what I really want you to pay attention to, the author of the document. That is going to give you a big clue in most of them, okay? But some of them is tricky, so just make sure that you're paying attention, okay? So the first one we're going to look at is asking what U.S. policy is being illustrated, and then make sure you explain what that policy actually is, okay? So reading the first one, balanced against this are the facts that Russia, as opposed to the Western world in general, is still by far the weaker party. That Soviet policy is highly flexible, and that the Soviet society may well contain deficiencies, which will eventually weaken its own total potential. This would of itself warrant the United States entering with reasonable confidence upon a policy of firm containment, designed to confront Russians with unalterable counterforce at every point where they show signs of encroaching upon the interests of a peaceful and stable world. Coming from George Kennan. So that name should look familiar. And then the policy is kind of laid out right there for you. So what is the policy? And then explain what do we mean by that? What do we want by that? All right, looking at the second one, again, pay attention to the author and then specifically kind of clues. Guys, for these documents, make sure that you're thinking about those corny sayings or those corny hand gestures that I offered up for you. That's going to make a big difference. So pay attention to the author, what type of aid are these countries receiving, and where is being helped. Okay? All right, second document, collapse of free institutions and loss of independence would be disastrous, not only for them but for the world. Discouragement and possibly failure would quickly be the lot of neighboring peoples striving to maintain their freedom and independence. Should we fail to aid Greece and Turkey in this fatal hour, the effect will be far-reaching to the west as well as to the east. We must take immediate and resolute action. Harry S. Truman. So what is the document? And explain. Okay? And then what policy is this document enforcing? Okay, specifically kind of look at this line right here. Okay, failure would quickly be the lot of neighboring peoples. Okay, so if we fail, what's going to happen? So what are we trying to do and what policy does this enforce? Okay. All right, document number 3. Again, look at the author George Marshall and pay attention to kind of where people are being helped. The truth of the matter is that Europe's requirements for the next 3 or 4 years of foreign food and other essential products, principally from America, are so much greater than her present ability to pay that she must have substantial additional help or face economic, social, and political deterioration of a very grave character. The remedy lies in breaking the vicious cycle and restoring the confidence of the European people in the economic future of their own countries and of Europe as a whole. It is logical that the United States should do whatever it is able to do to assist in the return of a normal economic health in the world, without which there can be no political stability and no assured peace. Okay, so what policy do you think he is talking about? And explain that. Okay, the last one, a little bit tricky. Okay, so when we look at the author, that may lead you to believe that it is one thing. Okay, but when we actually look at the details, pay attention. Okay, so let's go ahead and read the last one. Finally, you have broader considerations that might follow what you would call the following domino principle. You have a row of dominoes set up, you knock over the first one, and what will happen to the last one is certainly that it will go over very quickly. So you could have a beginning of a disintegration that would have the most profound influences. Now, with respect to the first one, 2 of the items from this particular area that the world uses are tin and tungsten. They are very important. There are others, of course, the rubber plantations and so on. Then, with respect to more people passing under this domination, Asia, after all, has already lost some 450 million of its people to the communist dictatorship, and we simply cannot afford greater losses. Dwight D. Eisenhower. Okay, so what policy is he talking about? Again, look very careful. They lay it out for you, so don't get tricked by the author. Okay, so what concept is being explained, and then explain what they're talking about, and then what part of the world are they most worried about? What are they talking about? Okay, if you have any other questions, reach out to me.